I've been doing BJJ for over 7 years. I'm an Atlanta IBJJF Open champion.
I'm Isaac Cedeno. I've been training for 9 years, and I'm a 6-time Florida State champion and a 2-time bronze medalist at Pan Kids in California.
So we will be going over with you guys the official IBJJF rules, you know, everything you can and can't do, and why stuff happens at these, you know, huge tournaments that you guys will be going to, and we'll be answering all the questions that you guys might have.
So for the match, you have to clip your toenails and fingernails so you don't scratch your opponent. That's got to be a penalty. So also you have to have the right gi color. It's black, white, or blue. Yeah. And that length can't go like past here. I think your pants have to be, can't be like way up here to be down there.
Next, we'll be going over weight. IBJJF has certain weight limits that you have to meet at the tournament. You'll sign up for these weight classes before you enter the tournament, and you have to make this weight class. You can't change the weight class when you get there. So you'll weigh in right before your match, right? So say if your weight limit is 74 pounds, you want to be exactly 74 pounds. You can't be even 0.1 over, or else they will disqualify you and you won't be able to fight. So if you're signed up for 74, you have to weigh exactly 74 or under. And you want to sign up for the lightest division as possible because you want to be at the top of your weight bracket. So again, if your division is 74 pounds, you want to weigh 74 pounds. If you sign up for 74 pounds and you weigh 60 pounds, you're at a big disadvantage because all the kids you're fighting are going to be bigger and stronger than you. And that might cause, you know, the way your match will go, because if the guy can outstrength you, you might be able to pull off something that you can't stop because he's stronger. So you always want to be the strongest and the heaviest in your weight division because it gives you a big advantage over your opponents.
Alright, so next we'll go over ref signals. So at the beginning of the match, when you and your opponent are on one side of the mat, your referee will signal you to come forward and to face each other in the middle of the mat. And after that, your referee will tell you to start the match, and he'll make a signal like that, and then that tells you guys to go ahead and fight. And also, as a penalty sign, they'll go like this, and that'll tell you that either you have a warning or whatever it is, and that that you did something wrong in the match that you weren't supposed to do. And also you have disqualification, which is an X that you make with your arms, and that tells you that you have lost the match because you've done something wrong too many times that you weren't supposed to do. And also with points, they'll hold up a different amount of fingers.
Me and Nick will demonstrate what our system is.
So guys, for a takedown, your referee will hold up 2 points for a takedown. And for a guard pass, for whatever guard pass that you have done, your referee will hold up 3 points for the guard pass for whichever position that you get in. And for a knee on the belly, your referee will hold up 2 points for this. And for mount, your referee will hold up 4 points. For a back take, with your hooks and seatbelt, that's very important, your referee will hold up 4 points. And for a sweep, your referee will hold up 2 points.
So we'll be going over advantages. An advantage is something that's less than a point, and this will determine who wins the match. If the points are tied, whoever has the most advantages will win the fight. So The referee, when he does this signal, when his hand places across his body, this means an advantage. The most basic advantage is from a submission attempt. If you have your opponent in a submission and your opponent escapes, you give one advantage to whoever was attempting the submission. Okay? The next one is from a knee on belly. If you do your knee on belly for less than 3 seconds and get off the position and your opponent escapes, or you leave the position before 3 seconds done, I will give an advantage, but I cannot give the full 2 points because it's not 3 seconds. So to get the points, you have to hold each position for 3 seconds. Okay. Next one, and that it goes for all platforms. That goes for mount, backpack, guard passes, all positions that you can hold. The next one is for a takedown. If you take your opponent down and you stand straight back up, you give an advantage to whoever went for the takedown. So whoever took him down, and if your opponent stands up, then you get the advantage.
Cool.
We're going to talk about stalling right now. So, when you stall, whoever is stalling gets a penalty. So it's not a good thing. So the most common position it goes in is like guard. So he's like, if Nathan's like towering, putting his head down like that, not allowing Isaac to do anything, then he's probably going to get a penalty for that. Something like that.
So the way penalties work is after a certain amount of penalties, your opponent starts getting points and stuff. So one penalty counts as a warning towards you, basically just telling you what you did and you can't do any more penalties. 2 penalties is an advantage for your opponent. 3 penalties is 2 points for your opponent. And 4 penalties is a disqualification.
Alright, so next we'll go over sportsmanship. Sportsmanship is very important because it shows respect to your opponent and your opponent's coach and their family, etc. So when showing sportsmanship, after a fight or before a fight, you want to shake hands with your opponent and shake hands with them after the match, just to show respect and good sportsmanship. And also, you don't ever want to talk bad or speak negatively towards your opponent because that doesn't show good sportsmanship. And also, after a match, you want to show respect to their coach and shake their hand, and also you want to show respect to your referee. And also, in sportsmanship, you don't want to do things that'll make yourself look like you're better than your opponent. Like, for example, after you win a match, you show that you can do a backflip to your opponent. To humiliate, you don't want to do that, so you don't humiliate your opponent and make them feel down and not as good as yourself.
So next we'll go over all illegal moves. These are moves and holds that you are not allowed to do, and if you do any of these moves to a certain extent, you can get immediately disqualified or you can get a penalty. So the first illegal move we're going over is footlocks. If I have my opponent, so if me and my opponent are playing guard and I put him in a footlock here and I extend it and he taps out, I will immediately be disqualified from the fight. If I get the footlock and he escapes, or I'm in it and he's not tapping, the referee for kids 10 and under will give you a penalty point and they will explain to you what you did wrong. So the next move is guillotine. Nobody under 15 years old is allowed to do guillotines. A guillotine is if he goes in for a takedown, and I get him in a guillotine, which is basically just a headlock, and if I do it standing and I crank it, it's a penalty and he taps, disqualification. Or if I'm in guard and I do a guillotine, it's the same as standing. Alright? So next penalty is jumping guard. This is a very recent rule added, so nobody under 16 years old is allowed to do this action. Jumping guard is where you jump onto your opponent and lock your guard around him. If you do this, it's an automatic penalty. The next illegal move is pulling guard without grips. If you want to pull guard, you always have to have your hands on your opponent. So you can't start the match and immediately sit down. If you sit down and play guard right away, your referee will stand you up and give a penalty. So the next illegal move is pulling on the head in a triangle. This is very common for kids. So when you have your opponent in a triangle, you have to either pull your shin or just hold his arm into the triangle. You cannot grab his head and pull him down in the triangle. That's a penalty. So you have to just squeeze your knees and you can't touch his head. The next legal move is a guard slam. So if my opponent has me in guard and I pick him up with a guard pass, I cannot slam him down super hard, right? That's a penalty. So if I pick my opponent up, I have to lightly set him down. Once you slam him, it's an immediate disqualification. The next legal move is a takedown slam. If you pick your opponent up with a takedown, you cannot run or move your feet and slam him hard. When you do the takedown, if you want to slam him, you have to keep your feet standing, and the rule is you have to be completely responsible for your opponent's safety during the takedown. So that means if you slam him on his head or you slam him on his back and he gets hurt, it's an immediate disqualification. So you can break somebody down, you can do it a little bit hard, but you have to be responsible for their safety. Next illegal move is reaping the leg. So this is done from reverse del Riva when you're hooking outside the leg. I have to keep my foot on his hip. If I pass my foot past his hip on the other side, or if I pass his hip and try to put my foot down, that's called reaping the leg or reaping the knee, and that is an immediate disqualification. So when you have this hook, or if he's sitting down, and you have it here, you gotta keep it on the belt. You can't pass it over. It's an immediate disqualification because it's very unsafe for your opponent's knee and his leg.
So we're going to talk about why the ref would stop a match before someone tapped out. The person in his submission would tap out. So if somebody's in an arm guard, like say Nathan's arm guarding Isaac, and it looks straight and it looks like he's not tapping, then the ref will stop the match. And then, or a triangle. So if somebody's there, Nathan has Isaac in a triangle, Isaac's looking like really out of breath and really in pain, the ref will stop it even if he's not tapped.
Alright, so next we're going to go over a tie, or when two fighters have the same score or no points at all, no advantages. When a situation like that happens, it's a referee's decision. It's a referee's decision to choose a fighter who he thinks was the superior fighter and won the fight in his opinion, and he'll raise the arm. But you never want that to happen, because in a fight, you don't want to put your fight in the referee's hands. You want to control your fight, and you want to score points, and you want to be the winner. And it's not good when you put your fight and your life in the referee's hands, because if you're able to do it, if you're able to make the fight your fight, and you're able to control your fight and score points.
Those are the basic IBJJF rules for tournaments. Do we have any questions about anything?
How do they know what a footlock is if you're not supposed to do it?
The refs or the fighters?
The fighters, like, how would they have learned it if they don't know how, like, if they're not supposed to do it, then why would they have learned it?
Well, some jiu-jitsu schools, they teach their students foot locks because they think they should know it, and some tournaments allow foot locks. They'll allow straight ankle locks where you're attacking the ankle of your opponent. And some jiu-jitsu professors will teach their students that, and some of their students think it's okay to use them in IBJJF tournaments when it's not.
About the triangle, if you don't put, can you pull the neck? Just not that.
No, you can't pull anywhere from the neck above because it can crank your opponent's neck and hurt them really bad.
Why can't you do a guillotine when you're 10 and under?
Because the guillotine is the same as pulling the head on a triangle. It puts a lot of pressure and danger on the back of the neck, which is very dangerous for kids.
You said about the guillotine. You said that you can't do like headlocks and stuff like that. That means you can't do the takedown of the headlock. Is that what it means? Or can they just like not grab the gi when they're doing the headlock? Like a headlock takedown.
You can do a headlock takedown here, but this is a completely different headlock as here. Because this is a submission. When you're doing it, you're really pulling on the head, which is putting pressure here, rather than this isn't really putting any pressure, and usually it's done with a toss, which isn't a choke.
Are flying arm bars allowed?
Flying arm bars are not allowed because when you do a flying arm bar, it's pretty much an act of jumping guard, and when you do a flying arm bar, you're risking hitting your head on the mat if your opponent isn't as strong to hold you up when you do a flying arm bar.
So that's a good point. Next is injury time. So if you have your opponent and a hip throw or something, and he lands on and hurts himself, he has 2 minutes of injury time, and a doctor will come out and they'll see him and him or her, and they'll have 2 minutes to decide whether they can continue the fight or whether they need to quit the match.
Why can't you jump guard?
Because at this age, you guys aren't developed yet, and a lot of you guys aren't strong enough to hold your opponent, so if they jump, you can drop them and they can hit their head on the mat, which can be very prone to concussions or injuring their neck.
When you were talking about the injury time and the other person cannot continue the match, will there be like a completely new match, or the same person that didn't get hurt will remain and the other person will come onto the mat and then continue?
The match will end, and if it's an injury time, as long as it's not a penalty or disqualification, whoever's injured will lose the match if they're not able to continue. So whoever injures the guy, they will win the match and proceed to the next match.
For the stalling, how long until it's considered stalling? How long do you have?
So it's, after you're in that position, it's 20 seconds of staying in that position, of not doing anything.
Is neon belly considered a stalling?
Neon belly isn't considered stalling unless you hold it there and you or your opponent is not moving for 20 seconds of the match, then it's not considered stalling. If anything, it's considered 2 points.
So once your referee feels that you're stalling, he will start a 20-second timer on his watch as soon as he feels that you're stalling. So this concludes our presentation and clinic on the rules and regulations of IBJJF tournaments.